You do not grow up with a narcissistic mother the way other children grow up. You grow up inside a shifting emotional weather system where the forecast depends on her mood, her needs, her image, and whatever story she is telling herself that day. And as a daughter, you learn early that your safety is not built on being loved for who you are. Your safety is built on being useful, being impressive, being agreeable, being quiet, or being invisible. The hardest part is that from the outside it can look normal. Maybe she is charming in public. Maybe she is admired. Maybe she is the kind of woman people call strong, inspiring, devoted. And you, the daughter, might even believe that story for a long time, because children do not start by questioning their mother. Children start by questioning themselves. In homes like this, love is rarely a steady experience. It is conditional. It comes with strings you cannot see until you move the wrong way. You might be praised when you reflect well on her. You might be adored when you agree with her. You might be rewarded when you perform a role that makes her feel important. But the moment you become separate, the moment you have your own feelings, your own boundaries, your own needs, you can feel the temperature drop. Her face changes, her voice sharpens, her affection becomes a weapon that can be removed at any time. And because you are a child, you do what children do. You adapt. You study her. You learn her triggers. You learn the rules that are never spoken out loud. One of the most observable patterns in daughters of narcissistic mothers is hypervigilance. You might not have known the word as a child, but you lived it. You could hear her footsteps and know what kind of evening it would be. You could read her sigh and know whether it was safe to ask for anything. You could sense the tension in a room like a sixth sense, because your nervous system learned that awareness equals survival. This often creates a daughter who seems mature, responsible, even emotionally intelligent. But underneath that maturity is a body that is always on alert. Even as an adult, you might still scan people's faces for signs of disappointment. You might anticipate conflict before it happens. You might over-explain, over-apologize, and over-prepare, not because you are dramatic, but because your childhood taught you that calm can end abruptly. Another common pattern is self-doubt that feels like it has no clear origin. That's because a narcissistic mother often rewrites reality. She may deny things she said, twist your words, or act confused when you express a need. You might say, "I felt hurt when you yelled at me," and she might respond with, "I never yelled, you are too sensitive. You always make me the villain." Or she might go even softer and more dangerous. She might laugh a little and say, "You are imagining things again." She might tell you that your memory is wrong, your perception is flawed, your feelings are excessive. Over time, you learn to distrust your own inner experience. And then as an adult, you might walk into healthy situations and still question yourself. Did I say something wrong? Am I overreacting? Maybe it is my fault. This is not a personality quirk. It is the echo of being trained to abandon your reality to preserve attachment. Many daughters also develop people-pleasing that looks like kindness, but feels like fear. You become skilled at reading what others want and delivering it before they ask. You become the friend who never needs anything. You become the partner who accommodates. You become the employee who overperforms. And people call you easy to be around, low maintenance, so supportive. But inside you may feel invisible, resentful, or strangely empty. Because what you learned was not healthy generosity. What you learned was that love is earned through self-erasure. A narcissistic mother may have used guilt as a daily language. "After all I've done for you, you are so ungrateful. You never think about my feelings." She may have punished your independence by acting wounded. She may have turned your normal needs into proof that you are selfish. And a child who grows up feeling guilty for existing becomes an adult who struggles to take up space. There is also a particular kind of shame that daughters carry. Not just shame about mistakes, but shame about having needs at all. A narcissistic mother often cannot tolerate a child's emotional reality if it competes with hers. If you are sad, she may become irritated, or she may make it about herself. You might cry and she might say, "Stop it, you're embarrassing me." Or she might turn cold and disappear emotionally, leaving you alone with feelings you were never taught to process. Some mothers go the other way and pull you too close, using you as their emotional partner. They tell you adult problems, they rely on you for comfort, they make you feel responsible for their loneliness. That daughter often grows up feeling oddly older than her age, carrying a sense of obligation that is too heavy for a child. And later she may be drawn to relationships where she becomes the caretaker because that role feels familiar, even if it drains her. You might recognize another pattern, the shifting roles. In one season you are the golden child, praised, displayed, used as proof of her greatness. In another season you are the scapegoat, blamed for her stress, accused of being difficult, treated like the source of problems in the family. Some mothers do this within the same day. You might wake up to warmth and end the night being told you ruined everything. This unpredictability creates trauma bonding, where you chase the good moments because they feel like relief, and you tolerate the bad moments because you hope the good will return. As an adult, that can translate into staying too long in confusing relationships, accepting hot and cold behavior, feeling addicted to approval, and mistaking intensity for love. A narcissistic mother often needs control, not always in obvious ways. Control can look like criticism disguised as concern. She might comment on your body, your clothes, your voice, your friends, your choices. She might say, "I am just trying to help," but the message underneath is, "You cannot be trusted to be yourself." She might compete with you, especially as you grow older. She might undermine your confidence right before an important moment, then act innocent. She might interrupt your joy with a subtle jab. She might make your achievements about her sacrifice. "I gave up everything so you could do this." Or she might minimize your success. Anyone could do that. You got lucky. And if you confront her, she might flip it. "You're attacking me. You're so disrespectful." This is how a child learns that truth has consequences. Another behavior that leaves deep marks is emotional withdrawal as punishment. The silent treatment is not simple quiet. It is a message. "You are nothing until you return to the role I need." A daughter learns to chase repair, to beg for warmth, to fix things she did not break. She learns to fear disconnection like danger. And then as an adult, even small signs of distance from someone can trigger panic. You may overtext, you may overgive, you may try to earn closeness by proving your worth, or you may swing the other way and detach first because you would rather leave than be left. There can also be triangulation, where the mother creates alliances and rivalries. She may compare you to siblings, to cousins, to other girls. "Why can't you be like her? Your sister never talks back." Or she might share private information about you with others to control the narrative. She might be sweet to your face and then subtly damage your reputation behind your back, so that if you ever speak up, people already see you as dramatic. This is why many daughters feel isolated and unheard. They may sense something is wrong but struggle to explain it, because the abuse was psychological, relational, and often wrapped in plausible deniability. So what does this shape inside the daughter? It often shapes an identity that feels unstable. You may know how to perform, but not how to be. You may be highly competent and still feel like a fraud. You may be externally successful and internally unsure. You may struggle to answer simple questions like, "What do you want?" because wanting something used to be dangerous. If you wanted something she did not approve of, you were punished, shamed, or mocked. So you learned to want what she wanted, to feel what she allowed, to become who she could tolerate. That is not a lack of personality. That is an adaptation to survive emotional captivity. In adulthood, these patterns show up in recognizable ways. You might have an intense inner critic that sounds like her voice. You might be perfectionistic, not because you love excellence, but because mistakes once cost you love. You might struggle with boundaries, feeling guilty when you say no, or over-explaining as if your boundaries need permission. You might attract controlling partners, or you might become controlling yourself because unpredictability still feels threatening. You might feel uncomfortable receiving care because care always came with conditions. You might be drawn to emotionally unavailable people because you learned to work for connection. Or you might be terrified of intimacy because closeness once meant being consumed. You may also experience emotional numbness. Many daughters learn to shut down feelings to avoid conflict. If expressing sadness led to mockery, you learn to swallow it. If expressing anger led to punishment, you learn to freeze. If expressing excitement led to jealousy or sabotage, you learn to shrink. Then later, when you finally have space to feel, you might not know how. You might feel disconnected from your body. You might intellectualize everything. You might feel calm on the surface while anxiety lives underneath like static. None of this means you are broken. It means your nervous system did exactly what it had to do. At some point, many daughters reach a painful clarity. They realize that the mother they needed is not the mother they had, and that realization can bring grief that feels confusing, because you might still love her, still empathize with her wounds, still remember good moments. But the grief is real. You can miss someone who is still alive. You can mourn a childhood you never had. You can feel angry at the same time you feel loyal. This is where many daughters get stuck, because the narcissistic family system often trains you to protect the mother's image at the expense of your truth. So even your healing can feel like betrayal. Healing begins when you stop arguing with your own experience. Healing begins when you recognize that emotional harm does not need bruises to be real. When you give yourself permission to name patterns without minimizing them. Naming is not hatred. Naming is clarity. And clarity is what breaks the spell. From there, the work becomes practical and deeply personal. You learn boundaries not as punishments, but as protection. You learn that you can love someone and still limit access. You learn that distance is not cruelty when closeness costs you your sanity. You learn to notice guilt and ask, is this guilt a sign I did something wrong? Or is it the old training that says my needs are dangerous? You practice short, steady responses instead of over-explaining. You stop volunteering your private life to someone who weaponizes information. You stop seeking approval from the person who built your hunger for it. You also rebuild your relationship with your own emotions. You might begin to notice your body, because healing is not only mental, it is physiological. A daughter raised in chronic tension often lives with a stress response that never fully turns off. So you practice calm, you practice safety, you practice slowing down without punishing yourself. You learn what your anger is actually saying. Not that you are bad, but that something matters, that a boundary was crossed, that a younger part of you is asking to be protected now. Inner child work, or reparenting, is not childish. It is the process of giving yourself what was missing. It can be as simple as speaking to yourself with warmth instead of contempt. It can be letting yourself rest without earning it. It can be allowing yourself to want things, to choose things, to say, I like this, I do not like that, without needing to justify it. It can be learning to receive support and not immediately repay it. For many daughters, receiving feels unsafe because it once created debt. Healing teaches you that healthy love is not a transaction. It can also help to understand the common traps that try to pull you back. One trap is hoping that if you finally say it perfectly, she will understand. But narcissistic dynamics are not misunderstandings. They are patterns. Another trap is chasing closure from someone who benefits from confusion. Another trap is waiting for an apology that would require self-reflection she may not have. Closure often comes from your own clarity, your own grief process, your own decision to stop negotiating your reality. There is also the delicate question of contact. Some daughters choose no contact. Some choose low contact. Some stay involved with firm boundaries. There is no single moral answer, only what protects your well-being. If contact consistently harms you, reducing contact is not revenge. It is self-respect. If you cannot reduce contact yet, you can still reduce exposure emotionally by refusing to argue, refusing to confess vulnerabilities that get used against you, and refusing to play roles that collapse you. And as you heal, you may notice something surprising. You may feel sadness in places where you expected relief, because when you stop chasing a mother's approval, you feel the emptiness where that hope used to live. That sadness is not failure. That sadness is the nervous system adjusting to a new truth. You are no longer living for her reactions. You are learning to live for your own life. Over time, you begin to see the daughter you were beneath the coping, the girl who wanted to feel safe, the girl who wanted to be held without conditions, the girl who wanted her feelings to matter. And you become the adult who finally takes her side. You stop calling her too sensitive. You stop telling her to be grateful for scraps. You stop making excuses for what damaged her. You learn to say, it made sense that I became who I became, and it also makes sense that I want more now. If this story feels familiar to you, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not difficult. You are adapting to an emotional environment that asked you to disappear. Your anxiety is not your personality. Your people-pleasing is not your identity. Your hyper-independence is not proof you do not need anyone. These are survival strategies. You learn them brilliantly, and you can unlearn them gently. One of the most powerful shifts is when you stop asking, what is wrong with me? And start asking, what happened to me? And what did I have to become to survive it? Because the moment you understand that, shame begins to loosen. And in the space where shame used to live, something else can grow. Self-trust, self-respect. A steady sense of self that does not need permission to exist. This is not about demonizing mothers. Some narcissistic mothers are carrying their own trauma, their own emptiness, their own unhealed pain. But your compassion for her pain does not cancel your pain. Two things can be true. You can understand her and still protect yourself from her. You can mourn her limitations and still refuse to shrink for them. You can let go of the fantasy that one day she will finally see you, and you can still choose to see yourself. And that is the turning point. When you become the witness you always needed, when you validate your own reality, when you stop begging for love that requires your silence, when you build a life where your emotions are not inconveniences but information, where your boundaries are not cruel but clear, where you no longer confuse chaos with connection, where you learn slowly and steadily what safe love feels like. If you are in this process, take it one step at a time. Talk to someone safe, a therapist, a support group, a trusted friend who does not minimize you. Learn the language of these dynamics so you can stop blaming yourself. Practice boundaries in small ways. Practice telling the truth in your own mind, even if you are not ready to speak it out loud. And when the old guilt rises, remember this. Guilt is often the withdrawal symptom of leaving a role that kept you trapped. You deserved a mother who delighted in your existence, not a mother who competed with it. You deserved guidance, not control. You deserved comfort, not criticism disguised as love. And even if you did not receive that then, you can begin to create a different experience now. Not by rewriting the past, but by refusing to repeat it inside your own mind and inside your own relationships. You are allowed to become someone she does not understand. You are allowed to outgrow the version of yourself that kept her comfortable. You are allowed to choose peace over performance. And the more you choose yourself, the more the spell breaks. Because the daughter who grew up with a narcissistic mother was trained to live around someone else's emotions. Healing is learning to finally live inside your own.